December 3rd, 1976, a mother of three, pregnant with her fourth, is being wheeled into a United Hospital delivery room to give birth and end what seems to be a very normal pregnancy. Well, this pregnancy is anything but normal. No, there's nothing wrong with the woman or her baby. In order to see what's not quite normal, you need to travel back in time about 15 months. The same woman has just given birth to her third child, a son. And with her husband has decided that 3 children is enough. She has a surgery known as a tubule, in which a 1-inch section of her fallopian tubes is removed. Funny thing though, 6 months later, the same woman's pregnant. Needless to say, the hospital paid for that December 3rd birth. They also paid for the surgery a second time, which immediately followed the birth. After the surgery, the woman was wheeled into a recovery room, where she was greeted by her doctor with words that she'll never forget. He told her that he'd attempted to do the procedure again, but the doctor before him had done it flawlessly the first time. And the only explanation he had for that baby was miracle. Well, that wasn't just any woman. It was my mother. The miracle was my younger sister. By all rights, she was an unwanted pregnancy, and my mother could have easily had an abortion. After all, to the best of her friend's knowledge, she wasn't supposed to have any more children. It would have been a secret shared by her husband, herself, and her doctor. But the thought never entered my mother's mind, and because of that, the miracle celebrated her 18th birthday last December. Unfortunately, 4,000 miracles each and every day share a very different fate than that of my sister. They have their lives ended just shortly after they'd begun through a procedure known as abortion. In 1973, the Supreme Court ruled on the case Roe versus Wade. And to make a long story short, since that day, abortions have been legal in America. That day also marks the beginning of a controversy, pitting pro-life Americans versus another group of pro-choice Americans. But I'm not here to wave my pro-life picket signs or call you a murderer if you're pro-choice. No, I'm just asking you to listen to me and begging you to think twice about 3 arguments made by pro-choice supporters. They tell you that abortion reduces child abuse. They tell you that without safe, legal abortions, thousands of women would die each and every day as a result of illegal back alley abortions. And they tell you that no one can know when life begins. But when one takes a closer look at these arguments, it's clear to see that they're not very compelling. One of the first arguments you might hear is that abortion reduces child abuse. They argue that fewer unwanted children means fewer abused children. But this just doesn't make sense. In my opinion, abortion devalues life by allowing us to decide who gets to be born and who doesn't. And it's the devaluing of life that is one of the reasons why children are abused in the first place. In addition, according to a book entitled Pro-Life Answers to Pro-Choice Questions, since 1973, child abuse has gone up 500%, a clear indication that abortion and child abuse are absolutely not correlated. A second thing you might hear pro-choice supporters say is that without safe legal abortions, thousands of women would die each and every day as a result of back alley abortions. Again, I turn to Pro-Life Answers to Pro-Choice Questions, which reports that before 1973, 90% of all illegal abortions were done in clinics under the same safety conditions that you would find today. In 1972, there were 39 cases, not 1,000, of women dying as a result of back alley abortions. Since that time, 300 women have died as a result of, quote, safe legal abortions, and hundreds more have gone unreported. Perhaps abortion, a procedure which we're preserving because of its safety, isn't nearly as safe as some people would like you to believe. Perhaps the biggest argument made by pro-choice advocates is that no one can know when life began. It's just too difficult to tell. Well, I'm here to tell you that society knows when life begins. After all, a person who abuses or murders a pregnant woman is given a harsher jail sentence and looked down upon more so by society. Why? No, it's not coincidence. It's because society knows that when a person murders or abuses a pregnant woman, he or she is abusing and murdering not just one, but 2. In addition, a woman can go to jail for endangering the life of her fetus through the use of drugs or physical abuse, another indication of how society knows when life begins. I'm also here to tell you that every pregnant woman knows when life begins. How often have we heard a pregnant woman say that she's eating for 2, or she felt the baby kick. These are subtle but clear indications that every pregnant woman knows that growing inside of her is a living, beating. I'm also here to tell you that every doctor knows when life begins. When a pregnant woman goes in for a checkup, she has her fetus's heart rate and brain activity checked. Well, the doctor insists on proper diet, just as he would for any living, breathing patient. Finally, I'm here to tell you that every child knows when life begins. This is reflected in a book entitled Abortion by Richard Exley, which tells the story of a 10-year-old girl who happened upon a room filled with aborted fetuses. And upon looking at one particular aborted child, turned and asked, "Mommy, who broke the baby?" I begin today with an anecdote about my mother. I would like to close with an anecdote taken from Focus on the Family, written by Jamie Duke, entitled Aaron's Story. I was 23 years old when I approached the wooden stairs. Brilliant gold and red maple leaves camouflaged the steps that led to a glass door bearing worn-out white letters. A nurse pushed paperwork across the counter. "It will all be over in an hour," she assured me. On the narrow table with my knees propped up, I turned my face from the bright light. The stiff pillow resisted the weight of my head as I watched the shadows move against the blank wall. A nurse squeezed my hand and said, "You're doing great." Suddenly I felt a gripping twist in my loins. A loud click triggered a forceful vacuum. The pressure pulled into my chest and throughout my body. A noise like a drain sucked away the tiny life. As I relived this experience in the stillness of my bedroom, my body again felt the sensation of my child being pulled from me, and the memory of this fatal act gouged my heart. I had abandoned my baby, torn apart and left in a dumpster, while the nurse assured me, "You were wonderful." Certainly I didn't refute the entire argument made by pro-choice supporters, but I feel like it took a big chunk. After all, the information I gave you today should leave no doubt in your mind that abortion does not reduce child abuse. It isn't as safe as some want you to believe. And also, society, children, mothers, and doctors do know when life begins. I hope I've made you think twice about those three arguments made by pro-choice supporters, but not for me or for you, but for the 4,000 miracles a day who have their lives ended just shortly after they've begun. They have no voice. They desperately need yours.